Hey, yeah, you can't hear this, Joe, but I was just playing the music. This is Jim the Keys bartender coming to you from Key Largo. I'm here with Papa Joe. Everyone knows who Papa
Joe is here. I'm right here, Bubba.
Yeah. How do you hear me all right?
I do. I'm in my truck. I'm driving back to the Keys.
Oh, you're driving. Oh man, I could have waited.
No, why wait? I just saw I was at my daughter's visiting the grandson at a whopping distance of 8 feet.
Okay.
I hadn't seen them forever, so I came up here.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us today. We are. I would be remiss if we didn't give an update. And I think you could confirm this. You shop at the same shopping center I go to. This episode 272. So we're less than 4-5 weeks away from, I'd say sometime in late May, early June, where we're going to be hitting 300. I know that's
we're getting there.
Much earlier than I thought we would. And I was going to call it Silence of the Chickens. but
is that
well, you know what I'm referring to.
Yeah. Yes, the homage to the Purdue Chicken Factory.
No, not that. At Trade Winds Plaza, there used to be a big. Now there's a lot of roosters.
Yes.
There's a lot of roosters.
Yeah, the missing chickens.
There's a dearth of hens. There's a plethora of roosters, but there's a dearth of hen, and right around the beginning of March, when there was a run on meats. Remember that in Publix? I mean, I'm sure our listeners in the rest of the United States and some overseas areas, which we're going to give. Well, you know what? I was going to say Silence of the Chickens. It's going to be I Left My Heart in Leiderdorp. Or Leiderdorp. It's spelled Leiderderp, and it's in southern Holland. It's about 40 miles away from Amsterdam, in between that and Rotterdam, the two big cities in Holland. But we'll get to that. I just need to mention their names, so if someone happened to tune in, because I'm going to be putting that in as a title, and I'm going to put it in as a hashtag. So, and I didn't realize you were on the road because I sent you a little homework assignment. But that just happened because I was just doing a search for that. But since we are Florida Keys bartender, I was mentioning chicken. There's a dearth of hens, and either something mysterious happened with the outbreak with only affected hens, or when there was a shortage of meat at our local supermarkets, some people took matters into their own hands and took some of our chickens. I think our chickens I think they've been taking chickens for a while from there, because otherwise it would have been.
I'm glad. I know we've talked about this before, but I'm not a real big chicken fan. I don't like them.
Do you eat them?
I don't. I'll eat the shit out of them, but I don't like them running around.
Yeah, you do have this thing, a phobia with a chicken. Did I tell you? I told you the story of there was a young Cuban man, or younger than I am, when I worked at the Encore, and he had thought he used as a pickup line talking to women when he was in. Well, I don't know. I don't know if it's Cuba or here in the United States, but he says he had carnal knowledge, and he talks about having carnal knowledge of a chicken, and he thought that was worthy of attention from young ladies, meaning that they thought that was intriguing.
Yeah, that could be worthy of attention from law enforcement officers. That could be healthcare providers might want to attend to that.
Yeah, so
that's a little bizarre there.
So when it comes to the chickens, there's enough people down here that they could, just a small group, maybe like 30 people, could wipe out the wild chicken population down here. So, I mean, on the other hand, I don't have a problem with the chickens being around. Do you have a problem with the cats, stray cats?
I've never liked them either. Only because I don't mind cats. I like cats. I never thought it was fair for cats to be fed and kept in a feral state.
Yeah.
I always wanted to see someone pick them up and, try and adopt them or adopt them out.
Why don't you feel the same way about the chickens?
That goes back to my childhood in Italy, dealing with chickens.
Were you
chickens
harassed?
And small Italian. I never liked them. They always got in the way. They scared the shit out of me when I was really, really young.
Oh, did you have?
They're noisy. They're noisy. What?
Were you the victim of an aggressive rooster?
I think I was an aggressive mama hen, who didn't like me very much, and she would always chase me off this mountain in this small town in northern Italy. And they're dirty. They're noisy. I never liked them, and it kind of stuck with me. I see them, and it reminds me of, I don't want to be around them.
Okay. Well, I just realized that if you think about in the post, even it's not exactly apocalyptic, but that so many people would have very little knowledge on how to slaughter, or I think they know how to slaughter a chicken. You cut off its head, you grab it by its claws. But cleaning a chicken, if you saw a movie like Cold Mountain, and you saw Renee Zellweger, and she did one of those things where she grabbed the rooster and killed it, and you don't really see what they're doing, how they get the feathers off. No one, and I don't know of any particular movie where they go into great detail on how to do it. And I know there's people that live in the country and they know exactly.
Sure.
Exactly, and
it's
I'm
common.
sure the older someone is, the more likely they would experience that. And there's obviously younger people that have been around it. But it's amazing down here, people would have no idea what to do with it. I see a rooster. I would certainly, if I was hungry enough, I know what to do with a rooster. I know how to make coq au vin. I've never butchered a chicken, meaning you'd have to slaughter it, drain it, take the feathers off it. I think part of that is putting it in really super hot water real quick. Right?
Yeah. You know what? It can't be. I don't think it's difficult. I watched the cleaning of a turkey. We went hunting one year. We had some turkeys to clean. It was rather smelly and disgusting. But the feathers is the hard part, because if you're going to pull them, then you got to sit there and pull them, and you've got scalding water, and that actually helps draw them out. They just kind of come right out. But then you have to, clean the innards of the bird, and there's certain ways I imagine you do that.
Oh yeah, I really didn't need to go into the minutia of it. I'm just saying there's a lot of people that wouldn't know how to do it. It's like a hit or miss. It would take you a bunch of tries to really get it right, I think, unless you were given.
If you're hungry enough, you'll get it. Yeah, fuck it.
You're probably get proper instruction. So, but the thing is, so people that aren't familiar with the Keys, and if you ever come down here, I mentioned, if you listen to this show long enough, one of the first times I was changing a bank, the bank I was banking in Philadelphia, and I moved down here, and I was going to the new bank, and as I was going into the bank, I heard some noise, and I looked in the bush, and there was a chicken. And I really haven't gotten around a lot at that point. It was the first couple of days there. I didn't look really closely at the supermarket and at places like that. And I told the teller who I was filling out information, I said, I don't know if you know, but there's a chicken out front. And they looked at me. and it's like saying, there's a squirrel in your tree. It's like
you're
looking
not
at
from
you.
Here, are you?
What are you, an asshole? You tell me something and then you run across, you just see chickens. So you come out, the first time my father was here, we were heading out to get something from the supermarket, and there were 3, 4 chickens, and my dad's kind of amazed by it. I said, "Oh yeah, there's chickens all over here." And one of my friends got out of her car and she said, "Hey, take care of my chickens while you're at it." And every so often you'd see a unique sight. And it was one day I got out of the car when I was going to the supermarket, and there was 8 chickens, and they were sitting on different. There was like 5 carts, and there was 5 of them perched on carts, and there was 3 on the curb, and they were just all spaced around in different perspectives, facing each other and facing away, as if they were posing for a painting. A still life.
Oh,
they
my
were just
God.
standing there. Yeah, they were just right there. But right now, we used to hear roosters all the time, and then the roosters are there. You still hear them every so often, but the roosters don't crow as much as they used to. And we thought they'd be in the neighborhood, too. We thought we'd see them in the neighborhood. And there are a lot of stray cats, but they did disappear. So that's all I have to say about the fucking chickens. And I understand you don't need to hear about it, but I just wanted to talk about it briefly to give them. And then another update, they're still continuing the ban on tourists down into the Keys. So they have a blockade up on the stretch at mile marker 112, and you're going to be going through that soon, right?
Yeah, I'm about to get on the stretch now, so.
Oh, great! Great.
Within 15, 20 minutes, I'm going through it.
Okay, when you're going through it, stop me, whatever I'm saying. If it doesn't interfere with you having to talk to anybody, or maybe you could put us on speaker.
Well, we're on the. They'll hear you because we're on the truck speaker.
Oh, great. Okay, I won't say anything to them. You think, Well, I mean, unless you want me to. I don't want you to get pulled over.
We'll do some undercover work.
If Don Finelli's there, if Al Ramirez, Don Finelli, or Nancy Alvarez, Ramirez, or Finelli, or the sheriff, Rick Ramsey, giving a shout there. So,
I will.
While we're there, we're gonna. Why don't we talk about? We'll talk about Leiderdorp, and it's a city of 27,000. It's near. If it's Leiderdorp, the big city is Leiden or Leiden, depending on how it. And if it's famous for, that's the birthplace of Rembrandt. Rembrandt.
Really?
Yeah. And it's and that area is known for its medical sciences and art history and things because of Rembrandt. And the current mayor of Leiderdorp since 2012 is Leila Dreisen Jansen. Laila, Laila, and she was she's a local lady, a local woman. I don't want to sound misogynistic. She went to the University of Leiden, and she's the mayor. And it's halfway. It's on the high-speed rail line there between, I think, Amsterdam and Brussels. So we're going to give a real shout out to them because they're listening to the show. Someone downloaded Leiderdorp. Yep, Leiderdorp. And I don't know if you tripped. Someone may have been down here. I know I met some Dutch people, and Dutch people are lovely people. They're uncommonly tall people.
Are they really?
Oh yeah, the Dutch. I always believed that the healthier, I guess, prenatal, postnatal, and just the healthy nutrition, almost everybody in the world, anybody in the world, any population in the world, if you have a general population that's fed well, treated well, Uh, there's no trauma going on, civil wars, and there's proper housing and health delivery systems. The people that, on average, reach their height potential. And for some reason, the Dutch, and if you see them in their swim teams, and the Dutch are uncommonly good in an all-American sport as basketball. The Dutch always fielded some people for some reason. And it's not a big country. Not a big country at all.
Europeans love basketball, man. They're really good at it, huh?
I know, but that smaller country, there's some of these smaller countries very tall, just like the Balkans. There's a lot of tall people there, too. But a lot of lovely people. And their proficiency in English is embarrassing.
Yeah, isn't it sad?
They speak their own language fluently, and they speak English fluently. So, and then probably French and a little German. And here we are struggling with our native tongue. I speak for myself. Yeah, you speak Italian. I have a smattering of Spanish and French, but nothing by way of because every time I meet a European, I have the French people, the Bastians, Germans. They're friends of mine. They're psychiatrists and psychologists. They're a husband and wife team, and they were fluent in English and they're German. And it's just, I just got to remember when I speak like this, I start feeling depressed.
Well, it is a cultural thing in America to be resistant to learning other languages. I mean, it's not across the board, thank goodness, but culturally speaking, I think we tend not to want to learn another language.
And I always said I didn't have a natural affinity for learning another language. I didn't have an ear for it. But I don't know if that's correct. I think I didn't apply myself as well as I could have. I could have been fluent in French by now and had I've tried with Spanish and Polish. I messed around with Russian for a year on my own.
Sounded fun.
What? Russian.
That sounded like it could be fun. Russian?
Yeah, Russian. But Polish, I have much better. Now it's doomed. I'm never going to learn Russian because I'm still, every so often I get about ankle deep into Polish. I can't say up to the neck, but I try to learn the greetings, and every time I go there, I do a crash course like 4 weeks before, trying to pick up. But the language, I guess, I'm always looking for excuses why I can't do something. So I think I should find out. I concentrate on why I can do it. And I'm not one of the believers that you can't learn later in life. I don't believe. Right. I think half of it is belief. The belief that you can really helps you along. So we got there. So to the lovely people of Leiderdorp, thank you for listening, whoever it is, and pass it on. Maybe we can, who knows? Maybe we can get your mayor on. And, there's a lot of people here that love the Netherlands with your, very liberal drug laws in Amsterdam. And
we're very enamored.
Oh, yeah. I happen to be a sober person, which is, I wish I had made my way there because I would have sampled that. And I was never I never really had a fascination with weed. I liked it, but my thing used to be with alcohol, so it's never like I went on a bender for 3 days smoking weed, so that would have been something. And you're also popular because you have your red light district, so and I know that's not a characteristic of your culture. It's just that you're very progressive about it. Here we have those things here, but we make it go underground, and it becomes much more destructive and harmful to the people that have to provide the sex workers themselves, and detrimental to the society at large because of the way we vilify the people that work in that business. So I think I'm done with that. We'll say goodbye at the end of the show. So, Joe, Psychology Today put out an article, and this is in the last 2 days, and it said that besides the coronavirus being viral and being people susceptible to it, they're also susceptible being in this, after the stay-at-home order in a lot of states, the quarantine, and that they're susceptible to the moods of the people around them, which isn't,
Interesting.
Yeah, that if your negativity could be viral when you're around people. It's very hard to be, imagine, I've never been in a place where if it was a predominantly negative, let's say, a really abusive household, right?
Right.
You normally didn't find someone whistling and, zippity-doo-dahing it around when, they're surrounded by shitty attitudes. I mean,
it's a pretty...
Yeah.
I would imagine it's a pretty down mood across the board.
Yep, and it happens in workplaces. If you have there's a predominant mood. If something goes down, especially smaller workplaces, where there's like 6-7 employees, if something goes down and there's like 4 or 5 people affected, it really weighs down on you. And I'll tell you, I've seen it happen. It's a negative. And I imagine in a household where you don't have, and I say I have to imagine because I'm fortunate. I do live with a teenager, and she vacillates between happy and sad, especially not being able to see her friends all the time. But she's, from what I hear from other people, she seems to be much more positive than a lot of other teenagers. And Abby seems to, she always seems to try her best to keep a stiff upper lip and be positive. So how's it going with you guys? I mean, you got out. You went out to see your daughter and your grandchild, right? I mean, observing the proper social distance and all that stuff. But how is the stay-at-home order working in between you and Damon?
Well, I mean, it's fine. We if we go somewhere, we keep our distance. We don't socialize in general. There's a few people that we might hang around. Everyone is essentially minding their P's and Q's. No one wants to get sick naturally, and it's okay. I mean, we're not really down about it. I will say this, Damon works, and there are natural stresses when businesses suffer a slowdown. I can only imagine businesses that have closed. And so you add those stressors and anxieties. What I wanted to say was, can you imagine a household that suffered from domestic violence during all of this?
Well, we spoke about that two shows ago, that the incidents of domestic violence have increased in some reporting agencies have said, but South Africa, let's just say South Africa, their minister of the Interior, closed all sales for alcohol and tobacco since since they started imposing restrictions, and almost all types of crime went down: assault, robbery, car theft, rape, except domestic violence. Now, what that means is domestic violence was static. It didn't go down. The reporting didn't go up or down. So that could mean, and I hate to say it like this because it sounds kind of negative, if it stays static and most people are staying home, that could actually be a reduction, right?
Yeah, well, you'll have to compare
because
this
normally people would avoid, if they're in a bad domestic situation, if they had the option of staying away from their home, they would stay away from the home as much as possible. But if it hasn't gone up coming home, and we thought there was a correlation between the use of alcohol and or actually the correlation between alcohol usage and domestic violence. And if you didn't have the alcohol, would that affect it either way? Because I guess the one test scenario would be the state of Pennsylvania. Because in early March, the state of Pennsylvania, even though a lot of most of the population lives along the border of Pennsylvania, from the southeastern border of Philadelphia, there's 3 million people, and the Pittsburgh area, there's 2.5, and the southern border, and the interior is about a third of the population, let's say. So,
all right, hey, listen, I'm at Jim. I'm at the checkpoint.
Okay, let's pause that. Let's hear it. So, what's it look like?
There was probably a dozen vehicles on the road. The commercial vehicles, of course, are being allowed to go through here. Hold on one second.
Okay.
Sir. Good, and you?
Good, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
That was it, huh?
That was it. That was the deputy just checked the address on my license to make sure I lived in Monroe County.
Oh, okay.
And,
you don't have a sticker?
I do have the sticker, but they're not really dealing with the stickers because so many people made fake ones.
Oh, wow! I'm impressed.
So they were ripping them off people's windows, and that forced them to check every identification coming into the keys. So Good for them. If you have a business or you're here on business, they will give you a temporary pass in the form of a sticker that they stick on your windshield. And of course, if you have no business in the Keys and you're just trying to get in, they just turn you around and send you back to Miami.
You heard the first couple days there was a woman who was traveling down here driving, and she said the Keys were a bucket list, and which was within 2 days, I think, of them putting up the checkpoint, and she's tried to explain to him. He said, "No, this is my bucket list. I have to go down there." And they said, "No, you can't go in because of this." And she said, "Well, you can't stop me." And they stopped her and they arrested her. So,
yeah,
she proved them wrong. So I say, "You can't stop me. You can't stop me." There, it's just you had to directly express that. So there's people.
Hey. Maybe her bucket list was to spend the night in jail in Monroe County.
Yeah, she got a chance to go to Plantation Key. She probably got a ticket maybe or something. Oh, you think maybe they did take her in because there was a lawful order. But there's a lot of anger at that from the people in the mainland. And I understand why. They say, here we are, we're blocking them from coming in. Well, people are trying to say we're a small community. It's a very small community that has a checkpoint because we have a way we can control access. Where Homestead, Miami, Fort Lauderdale cannot control access in and out of their areas because there's so many ingress and egress points, right? You got public transportation, you have highways, you have airports, you got stuff like that. That's it, and then you have commerce and all that. Well, we have one way in and one way out. Actually, 2-way in and 2-way out if you consider Cardstown Road, right? So
limited access.
Yeah. So what the way they thought we could do our stay-at-home order, control it. If we can get it down to 0 down here, which for some reason we can't get it down to 0. It's been a month, right? And there's still people getting ill. I mean, part of it, they got construction workers coming down here.
Exactly.
Construction, which is not essential.
Well, there's still people coming here. It's just down to the people that are needed to be here for whatever businesses are still open.
Yeah.
The public employees that make the trip every day. But you got to remember, in Monroe County, there's 3 hospitals
and 9 ventilators.
9 ventilators. There's less than 150 hospital beds, and not one hospital has a trauma center.
Yeah.
So you start, you get an outbreak of a new virus, and you overwhelm all the medical facilities. Everyone's going to have to get transported to Metro-Dade, which compounds their capacity in hospitals. Listen, we're actually doing Miami-Dade a grand favor by not having an outbreak here to speak of. We're not burdening their medical staff and hospital beds. We're actually keeping more available for the people of Miami-Dade and Broward. And no one ever mentions that, and they need to start remembering that, it's tough. You don't get to come here and go fishing. But you know what? If, God forbid, something happens to your mom, your dad, or your kids, you probably got hospital beds you wouldn't have had if we had had an outbreak, because we'd have to transport these people to Jackson Hospital and Baptist Hospital.
Yeah, as it turns out, where there's outbreaks, especially in small communities, they quickly get overwhelmed. And when there isn't an outbreak, let's say in some of the bigger cities, like where Texas is opening up, obviously, I guess there's no big outbreaks in Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, because they're opening wide open. Atlanta, they're under a little stress right now, but Georgia's opening up. So we'll find out what it's going to be like for people in those areas. And I guess Jacksonville will find out, because Jacksonville's right over the border away from Georgia. But on lighter notes, we can look at some of the things that have. I've been looking into the Google searches that have came about since COVID-19. Now, the U.S., I have to say, we are definitely the small bus of the world because of one question. Oh, 2 questions. Okay? These are the search.
Right.
The top 5 questions in the U.S. Are number 1, when will Disney open up? Right? Okay, number 2.
Okay.
What is pneumonia? Because I guess people are looking, they think, what is pneumonia? They're thinking, oh my God, is this pneumonia or is it COVID-19? And then it goes, what is coronavirus? That was number 3. And then number 4 is, when did it start? Which, Jesus Christ, those 2 and 3 seem to be very important. Very important.
Yeah.
1, I don't know how that affects you. If there's a bunch of people thinking, oh God, I got to get my kids to Disney. I don't give a shit. Maybe they thought, maybe the coronavirus would kind of be a good thing for my family. Would knock the kids out for a little while and stuff like that. They're not taking it too seriously. But number 5, listen to this one. Number 5, how do you cut your own hair?
That's important. It really is.
How do you cut your own hair? How the hell? What kind of question? You're either a professional. You're skilled, like as Edward Scissorhands, and you can do it. A really skilled stylist, but otherwise, you shouldn't cut your own hair unless you're doing it like Demi Moore did in that movie where she trained to be a Navy SEAL. What was that movie?
Well, that's what I did, Jim. My hair was getting uncontrollable. It was and it's hot outside. It's been in the there's been some days it's been in the upper 90s.
You shaved your head?
I took the clippers. I put a 1.5 guard, and I had Damon just chop off my hair.
Okay, well that doesn't count as cutting your own hair. Damon did it because someone had to decide it was a good way, good thing to do. And since he did it, he bought into it. He couldn't give you shit about it. That makes perfect sense.
But
okay,
but in his defense, he actually cuts his own hair.
Oh, I saw that. I see he does his hair. What's he use, a 2?
Yay! No, you think he uses a number 1?
Okay.
And he just buzz. We both got buzz cuts, and so it's easy. You just draw the damn thing across your head until all your hair is gone.
I know exactly.
I
mean, there's a bunch of movies where you see people shave their own heads, usually right before they go crazy. I mean, Britney Spears did it when she went nuts. In the movie, if you're a Wes Anderson fan, Royal Tannenbaums. You ever?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Luke Wilson shaves his head, and there's, I think Sigourney Weaver does it in Aliens, or
yes, she does.
Or one of the Alien movies, and it's always a cathartic moment. It's either you're about to kick somebody's ass, right, or you just went ape shit. That's when that goes on, when people are shaving their heads. Okay, now I'm going to give you the 5, the world. Now, this is the world. How can I be tested? Number 1.
Okay, that's excellent.
How do I get tested? Okay, how do I get tested? How do I make a face mask?
So far, we're good.
And number 4, when will the lockdown end? And number 5, how many people have died? So take in consideration the 2 big questions. The number 1 question, when will Disney open? and number 5, how do I cut my own
hair? Yeah. To put it in perspective,
I mean, I'm sure there's, like, in the top 20, there's going to be, what can I give myself a coffee enema? Or, what was the thing about shaving your nether regions? That'll be another part. Here I am.
Yeah.
But there's all sorts of things. What, just think about, there's prior to the coronavirus, the top search items, and this is like 2018. Oh, and one of the recent ones, it's a search item, and it was toe rashes, because that was fine. There's a whole bunch of new symptoms come out, and toe rashes came about. Now, I bet there's a bunch of people with janky-ass toes, right?
Yeah. Well, if you ain't got your hair cut, you probably haven't done your nails.
You haven't done your nails. You've been wearing shoes for the longest time. Now you're sitting around the house. Springtime's rolling around. And now you're looking down, you're twiddling your thumbs. And then all of a sudden you're starting to pay attention to different parts of your body. And you look down at your toes and goes, oh, is that a rash? I think people are starting to discover their fungus on their feet, and it's a direct correlation. They're trying to make a correlation between that and COVID-19. Now, there's a whole bunch of other things that probably go with COVID-19, but the toe rashes, I think that's just fungus present on a lot of people's feet because they're just wearing shoes all the time, and they never have the opportunity to give a close inspection to their body. I hope people.
Yeah, man.
A lot of people probably aren't paying very close attention to their personal hygiene. There was just an ABC reporter on Good Morning America, and he went on camera And right now, I'm doing a podcast. I'm not wearing a shirt, but I am wearing shorts. I'm not saying undershorts, just undershorts. I'm wearing shorts because I'm not going to once I start doing the podcast in my underwear, it's game over. I'm going to shave my head. I'm going to shave my own head and do all that stuff. Okay, but prior to COVID-19, there's the top 10 searches, right? Narcissist. Number 1 was narcissist. Everyone was into what is a narcissist. I
wonder why.
What do you think? What do you think sparked that?
Oh, Donald Trump.
Well, yeah, narcissist. But I think
no, there's a reason why. Like him or not, it doesn't matter.
Media. I think social
yeah.
media. No, social media.
You think social media drove that? I think
Instagram.
The term
if you're looking at how many girls have you seen just post pictures after picture of themselves and guys?
Oh, for fuck's sake! It is talk about an epidemic. Yes, but I think the term itself has been used in the media describing the president so much. It would not shock me that people would go and try and query it on Google.
Here's some of the weird ones. There's some ones that are kind of really enlightening. You see about motivational quotes. That was a big search, motivational quotes. Finding purpose, that was up there. Inequality, because one of the inequality, people was trying to think like wage disparities and things like that. And being a stay-at-home mom. I guess that's in there. But some of the other ones way up there was turmeric. Turmeric. The spice, turmeric.
Yeah, turmeric, yes.
Number 2.
Interesting. That's interesting.
Okay. Number 5 was cheating wife. When people, I think a study came out.
Hey, was this in the United States or is this worldwide?
Oh, this is the United States, of course. Worldwide, it would be how do I get clean water? You know what I mean? Jesus Christ! They got other concerns. They got turmeric. They would be looking up turmeric. In Vietnam, they've been using that for years. A cheating wife, because I guess the study came out and they realized that the same level of infidelity was occurring among women and men were shocked. Men were shocked that. Well, how dare women do that?
How dare they do what we do?
Yeah. Okay. This one is this is dark. DIY abortion.
Oh my God.
Yep.
That probably came out of Alabama.
Yep. It's got to be like a state that's really restrictive, and people are thinking, well,
yeah.
Well, there you go. Right to life, people. This is what. That is number 6. That's right in the middle. So that's a weighty search. That is a weighty search. That means people are saying, well, listen, you're not giving me a choice. And people say, well, we're going to make it hard. You know what? If you're going to think about people doing late-term things to get the baby out of their system, sometimes in the 5th month, oh, my God, 6th month, 7th month, who knows, Some horrible things.
Yeah, it is. That's horrible.
Number 9 was weed. Just weed. Pot.
Okay, well, I'll give them pluses for that. Like weed in general, or like how do you grow your own weed?
I think it was weed in general. It was like probably how to buy weed, what is weed, and people start seeing it. I think what happened is when people started decriminalizing it on the state level and making it medicinal and things like that, people started saying, well, if these people do it, there's like people that were always on the fence, right?
Right.
And they're thinking, well, there could be something to it. And there's the people that, always say, nope, it's bad as heroin. It's just as bad as heroin. Weed's just as bad as heroin. Don't do it. Might as well do crystal meth if you're going to smoke some weed. That's just the way people are. But then there's people on the fence, and the people on the fence go, hey, you know what? If I don't have to be on oxycodone, and this will help, I'll do this. And I could grow it.
Right.
I'm not making oxycodone. or OxyContin or
Yeah.
anything.
You can actually do something that'll get you off your opiates. It's non-addictive.
Yeah. I mean, that's
and
just one of the
there's
things
all
we
kinds
talk
of. Yeah, well, I understand why people want to look it up. That makes sense.
So yeah, that's you can always do a real-time Google search. You can just say what's trending right now, and it's really. I looked at the ones that were trending before, and some of the famous people, the most Googled person in the world, even though Google is mainly an American platform, but they said in the world because Google's used in other, I guess, European countries too, and all that. Alibaba, I think that's, or is Alibaba the Chinese Google, or is it the Chinese Amazon?
Oh, I want to say it's the Chinese Google, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, well, what the most Googled person in there was, who was a football player? Antonio Brown.
Really?
Antonio Brown. He was a good, a very good football player, but I guess he was so outrageous that, Antonio Brown. Yeah, and that was 2019. That was 2019, not that long ago, because but a lot of things have changed since 2019. And there's a Canadian actress who does short films on YouTube, and she did one where her 2020 self came to visit her 2019 self, right?
Okay.
And she's talking to herself, and they're saying to get ready for, and she just starts giving her hints. She go, you may want to buy some stock in Zoom and do this. And she goes, well, tell me the good news and the bad news. Well, the good news is you're going to be able to catch up on all that Netflix watching you wanted to do. And then, and one of the other things she said, and, and 2020, you're going to be, there's going to be some big things happening. She goes, well, and the girl goes, well, I guess 2020, they're really going to talk about the Australian wildfires, and that'll be like the thing that people really focus on, how big the fire. And the person from later 2020 goes, what? Oh, that. Oh my God. She starts laughing. She goes, that isn't going to be even close to what they're talking about. She goes like that. And then you see the person. It was very good. I was very impressed with it. There was a lovely actress. I forget her name. I'll look it up. I'll endorse her. But we've done 50 minutes, and you should be almost home.
I'm parked in my driveway as we speak.
Oh God. Okay. Well, listen, we're going to sign off. I want to thank you. And listen, I'll talk to you about doing it at a different time. And this way, it worked this time. You didn't drop off, so kudos.
Oh, that's why I ran to the truck because the truck actually I always get pretty good coverage here.
Well, it wasn't necessarily the truck. I was talking about just the internet thing.
Oh, you mean you're on your end? Well, that's good. Yeah. I'm glad it held out.
The internet, because we use the broadcasting app and all this stuff. Technology. It's almost like I'm one of those people you see in the future, a post-apocalyptic world, and people are still using technology, but they don't know exactly how it works. They know if you set it this way and set it this way, that this works. But it's kind of like a magical thing happening behind. Like there's some kind of wizardry going on behind this flat panel. If I know I hit this button. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to say thank you to our listeners in Leiderdorp, and it'd be great if you do, maybe you will pass it, share it with the other people in town, and if you'd like, we'll promote one of your businesses there. Maybe a coffee shop. Maybe we'll do a live. Maybe we could do. I've recently found, Joe, and if we do It's 5 hours ahead of time, so we'd have to do an early one in the morning. But I could link you to a phone call and we could do another phone call to someone in Leiderdorp, say at a coffee shop or a breakfast place. I don't know if you're shut down, or maybe from the mayor's house or something like that. If Layla looks like a friendly person, and we could promote your town. And when people pop in from over to Amsterdam, and they won't just go to the marijuana bars and the red light district. They'll hop on the high speed line and ride down to Leiderdorp or Leiden. Ah, jeez, I apologize if I mispronounce it. I'm going to have to write it down phonetically so we pronounce it correctly. But I'd like to link up, and I'd like to be the number one American podcast in your Dutch town. I mean, I wouldn't. It'd be even better if we were just the number one podcast. I would put that on the website. The number one podcast in Leiderdorp, Holland. And I think we could probably do that right now. There's 27,000 people. You probably have a football show. When I say football show, it's soccer over there. That's very popular over there. And you probably have like 100 listeners. Now, if I can get 200 listeners or 300 listeners there, I bet we would be the most popular podcast there. And I would just do, we could just do a 5-minute piece. I would do that for a bunch of shows. That would be interesting. We could get someone from your meteorological department to tell the weather, or maybe someone from your city council to talk about events you might be having. Maybe you have like a wooden shoe contest. What else do they have over there? A windmill designing. Oh no, I'm not trying to be disparaging.
No,
something,
of course
whatever.
Not. I was just laughing.
Something cultural. Something that's uniquely cultural. But Jesus, you do have, the birthplace of Rembrandt. And here we are, we're in the Florida Keys, and I guess, we're not the birthplace of Hemingway, but Hemingway did come down here. Jimmy Buffett's down here. What else? Is there anything, do we have any heritage? Oh, the movie Key Largo. I think the Dutch
the movie Key Largo. We have a very rich history in pirating and privateering.
Yep, and privateering, and I think the Dutch were involved in that. The Dutch have a history in privateering and pirating.
I think they were actually probably pretty good at it.
They were a mercantile nation, but some of them, no, actually, almost all, like Britain had that. Britain had one. The French, the Spanish, all the major maritime nations had their own segment of people whenever they went to war, they let some of their private fleet go on their own and say, listen, whatever you can seize, go and get. And it's just a part of doing business during war. Forgive me, that's just
the Keys has a pretty interesting, because between the Spanish influence and the fact that it's sitting right in the Caribbean and at a waypoint. I mean, it was a port. It was a fairly important port at one point. So, they could. We could talk about that. They could talk about what goes on.
And even though you're not a coastal community, you are at sea level, just like we are. Their sea level's like zero. When they said that sea level, because it's the Netherlands. They got the dikes and all that stuff around there. So we're at the same. We're on level with you guys. And I could probably get you to be a Key Largo. If you want to, you're 27,000 people. Why don't we can get you to be our sister city? I'll bestow, as the Florida Keys bartender, since we don't have a mayor, I'm as much as an authority here as anyone else.
We'll make you mayor. We'll make you mayor.
I'm going to declare myself mayor of Key Largo, Toontown, right? Like if we were a cartoon town, and we'll be your sister city. How about that? I'm gonna post this all over it. I'm gonna go and friend that group on Facebook, and we're going to be there, and then maybe we could do some trade or something like that. You know?
The Leiderdorfers.
Leiderdorp.
Leiderdorp.
It could be Leiderdorp. Dorp. D-O-R-P. Dorp.
Leiderdorper.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much.
I'm all for it.
You are? Oh, that's awesome.
I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I want to be a Leiderdorper.
Okay, listen, I'm going to keep you on the air, and I'm going to sign off, but I'm also going to give well, I could do this while I'm talking to you, and then I'll wait till the very end to do the music, okay? So if you want to comment on anything, you can comment. I'm going to start doing it. Okay, listeners, if you want to show some love to the show, and we started getting a lot of downloading since my feed's going out to iTunes and all that stuff, and Spotify. I don't see as much Spotify as iTunes, but I think we'll see that soon. If you go to www.keysbartender.com, we have Bellissima Wines is one of our affiliates, and if you go through there and show us some love by ordering some of their fine products, it's Italian Prosecco. Prosecco is Italian itself, and sparkling white wine, and they have a low sugar alternative, and it is Christy Brinkley's vineyard. So you can't beat that. So just go to sponsors under our website, www.keysbartender.com. Go under sponsors section, and you can go through that link there, and you'll find it. Also, if you want any CBG products or CBD products, CBG products, Dekind, D-A-K-I-N-D, 2 words. It's a local company here in the Upper Keys, and they make edibles. They make oils, edibles, and they have smokables, and it's CBG products, and you can go to Dekind, D-A-K-I-N-D. So it's www.dekind.com, D-A-K-I-N-D.com, and you can check out their products. They'll be happy to ship them to you, and they also have it locally available in Upper Keys, and eventually they'll probably have it in other places too. I'm a regular user of it. There's no THC in it. I just want you to know. Joe, do you know about that?
No, these are this is the product that's without the THC. So it's
yeah. There's trace amount, but cannabinoid. There's a cannabinoid system, just much like there's a nervous system in the body, and a lot of medical providers find that it's a good way to reduce anxiety, inflammation, and a whole host of other things. It's not for addressing critical cares that you have, but it's actually even probably more benign than vitamins. So check out these products if you have an opportunity. I'd like to thank Papa Joe for talking us through the checkpoints and making it back down here, escaping from hometown, like doing a reverse escape from New York. And we'll be coming back to you again. Thank you very much, and thank you. We love you, Leiderdorp. Okay.
Go Leiderdorp.
Go Leiderdorp. Bye. Stay there, Joe.